Let's continue our study of the practices of a bodhisattva. Since today's setting is somewhat special, the teaching may not feel particularly profound, but it's still good to transmit the teaching to everyone and continue our Dharma studies without interruption. Today we'll continue learning the practices of a bodhisattva. Now we're discussing the main practice part. It explains the three scopes of practitioners. First, the lesser scope, abandoning negative actions out of fear of lower realms. The middle scope practitioner abandons attachment to the three realms, seeking liberation. For the greater scope, one practices the union of emptiness and great compassion, not dwelling in the extremes of samsara or nirvana. Today we'll first discuss the lesser scope. If we want to study Buddhism and achieve realization, then there is no doubt we must certainly attain liberation. Liberation cannot be achieved without causes and conditions. At minimum, you must choose one path according to your capacity. Either the lower path of the lesser scope, or the middle path of the middle scope, or the higher path of the greater scope. What is the path of the lesser scope like? What is this practice like? The Buddha taught that the unbearable suffering of lower realms is all the result of negative karma. Therefore, even at the cost of one's life, never committing negative actions is the Bodhisattva's way. This should be clear to everyone. The lesser scope practitioner especially fears creating negative karma. Even facing death, they refuse to commit negative actions. They have this firm determination. So this is the most basic practice of the lesser scope Dharma practitioner. The all-knowing Buddha, who possesses the power of knowing all types of karma and their results, personally stated, the Buddha, as described in the 10 powers, which explain the merit of Buddhahood, knows various karmas and their effects. The Buddha has explained, and how did he explain it? The mere hearing of which instills terror, and when experienced directly, brings sensations even more difficult to bear. All the sufferings of the three lower realms that torment beings do not arise without causes, nor do they arise from incompatible causes. Rather, what are they entirely? They are indeed the results of committing the 10 non-virtuous actions. Therefore, even when facing life-threatening situations, one should never commit such negative actions. This is the conduct of all bodhisattvas who discern virtuous and non-virtuous causes and effects. This principle is truly important, and we should keep in mind, many of us consider ourselves Mahayana practitioners or practitioners of Vajrayana, but when it comes to creating negative karma, we have absolutely no fear or apprehension. Perhaps we don't fully believe in karma yet. Maybe what we have is just en surface, whether listening to teachings, reciting scriptures, or doing various virtuous deeds. We're just going through the motions. But deep in our hearts, maybe haven't truly contemplated that after creating negative karma, we will experience various results in this very life, and in future lives in the hell, hungry ghost, and animal realms, will suffer torment for countless eons. Without this mindfulness, then in our daily actual conduct, we will certainly create much negative karma in this life. As stated in the Ratnavali, Precious Garland, if we can contemplate just one day in the realm of the hot hells and cold hells, that is to say, we can reflect on a single day in the hells, how the cold and hot hells are for just one day, and the suffering of hungry ghosts tormented by hunger and thirst. We can also contemplate this, as well as the various sufferings of animals afflicted by ignorance, we can contemplate these two. The final translated version, which you may have now, is slightly different from what I have on my computer. In the Precious Garland, the final edited version states, hell has 18 levels. Hungry ghosts have 3 types: outer obstructed, specific obstructed, and inner obstructed. Animals have 2 categories: the cold, heat, hunger, thirst experienced by these beings, and all the suffering of devouring each other. These are, without a doubt, most certainly the results, the inevitable results of unwholesome karma. Sometimes we can observe the mutual predation that occurs within the animal world is very clear. Also, the suffering of hunger for hungry ghosts and the suffering of burning and cold in the hells all have causes and effects. These effects are results of non-virtuous actions we created in the past. The Precious Garland states, non-virtue produces all suffering and leads to rebirth in lower realms. If not virtuous, one will suffer. If we try to express it in words, it's difficult, isn't it? For those who observe cause and effect, even without explanation, they generally act accordingly. But for those who don't observe cause and effect, no matter how many times you explain it, their behavior remains unchanged, and it may not have much impact. When I ask everyone to study the words of my perfect teacher, it's not just about understanding the text. Except for a few scripture references, you basically understand the text. There's nothing difficult. But can we actually put it into practice? This is the crucial point. If we don't practice it, then all these teachings merely plant a seed of virtue in our mind stream. Of course, for subtle matters as ordinary beings, we may not be able to practice everything perfectly, but at least we should have a sense of reverence for cause and effect. This is very important. Yet many people nowadays have no fear. They're indifferent. There's nothing you can do about people like that. Even if the Buddha appeared, there would be no way to help them. This is something everyone should understand clearly. The Bodhikaryavattara also states, suffering, unpleasant experiences, various fears, and wishes unfulfilled all arise from past negative actions. It also says, non-virtue produces all suffering. How can one be free? Therefore, I must focus single-mindedly day and night on eliminating suffering. Since these sufferings come from non-virtuous actions, if we wish to attain liberation, day and night, we should find ways to ensure that we don't create negative actions in the future, and how to purify those we've created in the past. We should contemplate karma in this way. Therefore, contemplating karma is crucially important. Contemplating includes general contemplation and specific contemplation. General contemplation of karma includes contemplating definite karma, expensive karma, and that what's not created won't be experienced, while what has been created won't be wasted. These are general principles of karma, like the 5 immediate retribution karmas. These are definite: slandering sacred objects or spiritual authorities, or creating various negative karmas. These expand at an extremely high rate each day. Also, what hasn't been created can't be experienced, and what has been created cannot possibly be wasted. Specific contemplation of karma broadly includes the 10 non-virtuous actions and their opposites. The 10 virtuous actions, the results of creating each of these actions will definitely be experienced distinctly. The ripening result, the concordant result, the causative result, and the environmental result, etc. Contemplating these principles and developing a sincere faith in karma in our mind is extremely crucial. If we haven't practiced contemplating karma now, we're half believing and half doubting, or we say believe, but in reality, we don't believe at all. Even if we do believe, some may be unable to observe karma due to heavy afflictions. The result is the same. If we contemplate the suffering of the 3 realms of existence, we will develop renunciation and compassion in our mind stream. If we contemplate karma and its effects, one will sincerely and wholeheartedly believe in and fully accept the fundamental law of cause and effect in their daily life. This is the benefit of contemplating karma. What benefits come from contemplating karma? One is developing renunciation. Another is developing compassion for pitiful beings. Additionally, in our actual conduct, we won't just believe, but will truly be mindful. When doing anything, we'll think, no, this violates the law of karma. Many of us should, if we have even a little education, we will know what we can and cannot do. This should be quite clear for everyone to understand. So if you believe in and contemplate karma, you will gain these benefits. Conversely, there are faults in not contemplating karma. For instance, if you don't contemplate karma, you won't develop renunciation, nor will you develop compassion. And in your conduct, you won't sincerely observe the laws of karma. You won't observe them. You'll be indifferent to whatever happens. And Venerable Atisha said, the wise do not create negative karma, do not commit negative actions. The result is suffering in lower realms. What is the reason? Because if you create negative karma, then its result will certainly be the 3 lower realms. Therefore, generally wise people don't create negative karma. The reason is that its result is actually experiencing the suffering of the lower realms. Atisha further stated, the most profound dharma is solely karma and its effects. Among all teachings, the most profound is this. Regarding karma, it is even more profound than the teachings on emptiness and tathagata garbha. What is the reason? Because it is extremely important. Even meeting deities is not as valuable as developing unwavering faith in karma and its effects. This is the most excellent achievement. Meeting deities is not so important. If today you see Manjushri and Avalokiteshvara, it's not important. But truly believing in karma, that is most important. If the root is poisonous, then its branches and everything else will be poisonous too. He often used this metaphor to explain the principles of karma. If you create negative karma, it will definitely ripen, just like a poisonous seed will definitely produce poisonous sprouts, because in the alley region, Atisha was the only one teaching karma at that time. That is why he was commonly known as the karma master. Earlier, because he constantly taught refuge, he was called refuge master. Because he constantly taught bodhicitta, he was called bodhicitta master. Because he constantly taught karma, he was called karma master. So as we can see, these truly great masters on crucial issues, they see things very clearly from the beginning. And after seeing clearly, unlike us, they don't do things like verbally study one thing, but at the same time simply start doing things that go against the law of cause and effect. They would never do that. Geshe Dromten Pa also once said, if one falls into the 3 lower realms like hells, there is only suffering and not a fraction of happiness. The lower realms certainly have no happiness. Though we cannot see the hell and hungry ghost realms, when we look at the animal realm, we basically understand this. He also said, in life we create virtue and non-virtue. The results appear in future lives. If during our lifetime we create virtuous or non-virtuous karma, the results await us in future lives. If you don't diligently practice virtue now, you will certainly suffer later. So here he admonished all practitioners, venerable ones, please do not be careless. This dependent origination is extremely subtle and profound. It should be Dromtonpa. Geshe Dromtonpa frequently admonished everyone, never ever be careless. Otherwise, this dependent origination is inconceivable. If I create karma in this life, when I experience the results in future lives, it may be too late for regret. The negative actions we create in a brief moment may take countless eons to purify. So this dependent origination is extremely subtle and extremely frightening. This is something only the omniscient ones, only the great masters of the past truly understood. So the negative karma we create when joking or driven by afflictions in our brief human life, we definitely cannot purify it all, which is terrifying. The power of dependent origination is truly inconceivable. Geshe Dromten perhaps couldn't explain it more clearly to his disciples. Venerable ones, you must be extremely careful. Don't be careless. If you carelessly create negative karma, when those results ripen, it will be terrifying. Geshe Putoa also earnestly taught, if we now abandon the 10 non-virtuous actions and practice the 10 virtuous actions, we will not find the lower realms, even if we search for them. If we truly practice this way, we will not fall into the 3 lower realms. Conversely, if we abandon the 10 virtues and recklessly commit the 10 non-virtuous actions, then we will not find the higher realms or liberation, even if we search for them. If you have clearly committed the 10 non-virtuous actions, then liberation is absolutely impossible. It depends on your actions. Focus on the profound karma and its effects. Emptiness can be understood through reasoning. Introduction to the Middle Way also mentioned karma and its effects are extremely profound. That's why the Buddha usually prohibited people contemplating karma and effects too deeply. Why? Because karma is very difficult to fully comprehend. Only the Buddha's omniscient wisdom can grasp it. As for emptiness, although we say it is relatively difficult to understand, it can be approached through reasoning and understood through logic, through the 4 logical analyses. Emptiness can be understood through the Vajra splinter reasoning and so on. We can understand it. But karma and its effects are not so easily understood. Geshe Puchungwa said, "I have no choice. In my old age, I solely practiced the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish." His Holiness Jigme Punsok Rinpoche, also in the year approaching his parinirvana, finally taught the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish. Rinpoche taught the Sutra of 100 Karmas and the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish. Many people in our academy are indeed extremely careful about karma and its effects. Geshe Kadropa asked Geshe Puhongwa, "Geshe, you say that only karma is most important and that the current teaching, listening, and practice all seem have no value. Is karma really the most difficult?" Yes, is karma really the most difficult? It seems the word obtain may be unnecessary here. So it's Geshe Khadropa as Pukhungwa. Geshe, you now emphasize karma and its effects most highly. Then what about our current activities? Teaching, listening, and practice. Do these have no value? Is karma the most important? When asked, the Geshe replied, "Indeed it is." He felt that if one doesn't understand karma, even 10 years of study and practice, or 20 years, or abandoning one's homeland, being monastic, or a layperson, none of these external forms matter. If in your own heart, if in your own behavior, you haven't properly observed karma and its effects, then everything else has no real value, Only karma and its effects are important. So in this commentary on practices of a bodhisattva, many key instructions are given to us. Hope everyone will regularly review them and remember them. When Langri Tangpa asked Geshe Sharawa for instructions of practice, the Geshe said, "Contemplating karma is my key instruction. This is my perspective. I believe karma and its effects are my essential instruction." Generally, when these Geshes ask for instructions, Geshe Sharawa actually, Langri Tangpa was such an accomplished practitioner. When asking Geshe Sharawa for instructions, he was told, contemplate karma frequently. Constantly reflect that karmic power is truly inconceivable. Regularly study the words of my perfect teacher. In Preliminary Practice Guide, karma is not explained extensively. It is covered in the Great Perfection Preliminary Practices. Opening the Door to Mind Training also discusses it briefly. But mainly in the Sutra of 100 Karmas, and also in the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, even a small karma created at that time will produce results that are difficult to purify even after eons. So we must contemplate these laws of karma. This is the essential instruction. Many great masters of the past did not emphasize teaching Vajrayana first, but rather taught the 4 renunciations. The preciousness of human life, impermanence, the infallibility of karma, and the suffering of samsara. These are the 4 renunciations. So this Geshe's instructions were all about karma. Geshe Kadropa also said the cause of lower realms and suffering is negative karma, which really should be abandoned by us. Geshe Kadropa taught this before one becomes familiar with karma, those who crave advanced teachings are just like building structures on ice, Before we have truly developed a genuine understanding of karma and effects, if we seek the great perfection Zen Buddhism, Mahamudra, Yamantaka, and such profound practices, it's almost equivalent to building on ice. Building on ice, as everyone knows, will collapse completely when the weather warms. So without a foundation in karma, even if you've received many great perfection empowerments and pith instructions, when you encounter certain situations, everything has utterly and completely collapsed. Everything has totally and completely fallen apart. At that time, nothing remains reliable. So if one doesn't believe in karma, indeed, many Buddhists are like this. I think some people, I think they probably didn't have good environments while growing up. At least in their behavior, they don't believe in karma at all. Do you remember some time ago I asked everyone to guard your three-door speech and actions, protecting your body, speech, and mind? But afterwards, I heard various things, including many people gossiping and criticizing others. It truly generates renunciation in me. No matter how much we teach, it seems useless. If you don't contemplate these teachings yourself, it's not because of what's being taught, nor because of what you're studying. No matter how profound the Dharma is, if the foundation isn't properly established, it cannot be built. For some, with heavy negative karma, no matter what you do, it may take several eons. There's nothing to be done. So sometimes you should consider, if you truly lack capacity for study and practice, I think it's better to find a quiet place, recite Vajrasattva mantras, practice confession, and remain in solitude. It's not about going into a group of people, engaging in debates, giving teachings, or even listening to Dharma teachings. These activities should be considered more advanced, higher level practices. Many of us don't even have the basic faith in karma and its effects. We lack sincere faith in karma. Without this sincerity, it's impossible to follow the karmic law in our actions. When it comes to follow the karmic law, it's obvious to everyone. Anyone with even a basic understanding of Buddhism can clearly see this. So whether gossiping about others or frequently doing many things oneself that violate the laws of karma, then listening to teachings, relying on spiritual guides, receiving instructions, or outwardly practicing virtuous actions are actually just for show. They have no meaning for your mind stream, no meaning for this life or future lives. So indeed, these geshes truly hit the mark, directly addressing many of us ordinary beings. Of course, among ordinary beings, there are some good ones who have been extremely mindful of karma since childhood. I've seen some, they're very careful in their speech and actions. But another group of ordinary beings might start out being somewhat mindful of karma, but seems gradually decline until eventually their conduct seems worse than if they hadn't studied Buddhism at all. So we should examine ourselves with these instructions. This isn't something I'm making up. I'm here right now without any other thoughts, but indeed including myself sometimes after studying for so long and teaching. But do I really have in my mind frequently this genuine concept of following the karmic law? It's difficult to maintain. So without this foundation, we can discuss the highest teachings, but it won't have much meaning. This is why in Tibetan Buddhism, there are certain practitioners and great masters consider contemplating impermanence and following the karmic law as the most crucial point of practicing Dharma. Therefore, as mentioned here, if you don't have proper faith in karma and its effects, then your love for advanced teachings is useless, like building on ice. Once you encounter even a small challenge, all your practice is completely exposed as hollow. Everyone should remember this statement. Furthermore, the Bodhisattva Togme Sangpo also said, cold, heat, hunger, thirst, devouring each other, and numerous sufferings of the lower realms. These are the sufferings of the lower realms. He also said, the happiness and suffering of all beings, noble or lowly, whether good or bad, pleasant or painful, is produced and perfected by virtue and non-virtue. Everything comes from virtue and non-virtue. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, do not commit negative actions. Always diligently practice virtuous actions. And one should embody this in one's own conduct.
Bandara Banma Sodargye